JCLady.
Hi there, this is Joanna from the channel JCLady Alternative Education, and today we've got the 8th video from the series about grammar, the root grammar, Polish grammar as an example. And today we are going to talk about the noun and noun cases and the gender of the noun. Let's start. I'm talking about Polish grammar, but I will do references to the English grammar, of course. All right. Noun in Polish is called, actually, now in the present grammar, they call it rzeczownik, which is something like an object, which I don't like it, and it's not the ancient name. It's not the proper term. The proper term is, and it was, imię, meaning that what you've got, it's something like noun, or like in French they have nom, which means the name of something, imię, and it's spelled like that. Now, imię, but in fact it should be spelled like that. E is not necessary. And what it means I have me, I have I, right? I have individuality. As an individual, I exist, I have a name. Imię is have individuality. And it's in the sense of presence. It's like present continuous. In fact, the form from with un at the end is the form of the old aspect present continuous. It's called jednokrotny. I will talk about it later, longer. And that's what it means. I have a name, I have individuality. So that's what the noun really is. It's all about naming and knowing that we are individuals. Right. Now, let's talk about gender. Let's talk about gender. In Polish, we've got 3 genders. It's male, female, and neutral. It's just like in Latin, and but we don't have just like in Latin. We don't have those articles like in French, for example, or Italian. You've got those articles, or those little words put before the noun to show what is the gender of it. And in English you don't have it. You've got some articles, right? You've got some little words like a, n, or you've got the, but it doesn't really show the gender of the noun. In fact, in English, it's not so important, right, to talk about it. You just need to guess from the meaning, right? It's a girl or it's a boy. In Polish, we have 2 genders, and we know which word is in what gender, not by some article that is standing in front of it, but we know it. Well, first of all, it's because it's in our matrix, but also we know it from the form of the word, from the form of a noun, because the all male gender has got consonants at the end. Of course, there are some changes. There have been changes. Some nouns changed, but I will talk about it more when I will talk about endings of all that. Not now. Now we can just simplify the thing and say that male gender has got the consonant at the end, just like here. Pan, sir, or cat, T at the end, it's kot. Cat is kot. Similar. And in plural, we've got at the end usually y, right? Why? Now, female, feminine, right? Here, gender is most of it. It's finished with an a vowel. So in Polish, it's a, like panna, kotka. There are different. There's, for example, the word mysz, which is the mouse, similar, and it's finished with sh, which in fact before I think it was a very more palatal, right? It was gentle. It was more like mish, not mish. And in fact, in Sanskrit, you've got musa, a at the end, a at the end. So I guess in old pre-Slavic Arya time, which I will be talking more about the history of the language. I guess it was ale. It was probably like musa or misha or misha. All right, and or like, for example, pani, lady. I guess it must have been pania or ksieni. That's the title, like for a landlord or landlady, right? So I guess it could have been ksienia. For the neutral, and in the plural, most of it is e, but sometimes it's also e, like panny, kotki. It depends whether it's like palatal, right? Whether it's softer or not so soft. As for the consonant ending. Now in neutral, we've got the ending always o, dziecko, or dziecię or kurczę. And in the plural, we've got a again. Of course, there are differences. For example, now dziecko, it's finished dzieci, which again, I think maybe it was not exactly like that, because in dialects, which are showing a lot of ancient grammar structures and words, we've got the term, like in east part of Poland, they say dziecka, one dziecko, two dziecka, with a at the end, a, right? Or like I guess, I think in the old Church Slavonic, those terms are there too, ending with a. Now, for example, kurczę, one chick, two chicks is kurczęta, so it's like longer. But I have an impression that you cannot really justify and prove everything because we don't have much literature. It was destroyed by some people. But I guess it would be possible to say kurcza, but it doesn't exist now. Anyway, what I'm saying is that probably at first for male in plural it was ending. Even in dialects we've got panny, and it existed before, like few centuries before, to say pan, sir. Two sirs would be panny, not panowie, because now we've got the new ending, which is brand new and it's kind of weird, panowie. And, right, koty, pany. And here in feminine, female would be i, kotki. But there's also e, this letter, e. In Polish we say e, which could be here, here, or here, possibly. And in neutral, a at the end. Okay, that's gender. But mostly what I wanted to say that in Polish, gender is inside the form. The ending tells us what is the gender. And it's important for us, just like for example, in French language. Now let's go to cases. We've got Right now in grammar, we've got 7 cases. Now, when I was studying grammar, and I know my language very well, I feel it, and I'm a witch, so I know also lots of stuff from the past. We have 7 cases, but I believe before it was 8, and I will explain you why. And in Sanskrit, you've got 8, and Sanskrit is a brother of Polish and all Slavic languages, because before, in Arya times, it was one language, and then they split, right? One part went to North Europe, and the other part went to Asia, of those people. Okay, what we've got now in Polish grammar, we've got mianownik. I just tell you and then I describe more. Mianownik, dopełniacz, celownik, biernik, narzędnik, miejscownik, wołacz. That's the forms. Now, I believe it should be, and in my grammar is like that, mianownik, rodzicielnik, dajnik, biernik, narzędnik, miejscownik, odchodnik, wołajnik. And it makes 8. Now, let's see why. 8 cases. 8 cases because it makes a cycle. 8 cases are put in pairs, so it goes 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. It's a cycle, and it's a cycle of the universe, cycle of the world, cycle of everything, of the human life. And it has to go in this way, and it has to be put in this order. Even in Sanskrit, some things are not exactly in that order, because in Sanskrit, you've got wołajnik before. But I will show you the table of cases in Sanskrit later. Now, let's go through. Mianownik, first one, it's nominativus from Latin. I will tell you Latin names. Nominativus, mianownik, it means mianuje. It means it says what is the name. It gives the name. And nominativus is the same. Nominative, it's, okay, it's, what is it? It's, I name or I see a cat. And in Polish, we say there are some questions. So the question would be, I see what, I see who, I see a cat. Co widzę, kto co. Next one, you have the name, and now you've got rodzicielnik, and it's necessary. And this is the one which is a problem, because it was taken out. And the rodzicielnik, the question is czyj. Czyj, it means whose. It's not who, it's whose. And you've got it, because you've got Saxon genitive. And this is the only case you've got. Other cases you do it with prepositions, but you've got Saxon genitives, and it's like, who's that cat, or who's that son, right? And the answer in English would be, it's David's. Let's use David. David is good because then I will show you something. So, who, what, nominative, David, or a woman would be who, what, Marysia, Mary. Now, here, who's that David, son? Whose son he is? So, you can say it's some Antonis or John's. Or if David has a son, then we can say it's David's son. Do you understand? Now, in Polish, those endings here in this second case, nominative, rodzicielnik, genitive, would be, the ending would be of. And we still have got it. We've got the, would be of for gender, male gender, and in for female gender. Why do I say it? Because it says so in literature, and here we've got, there was this big, important poet, Polish poet in 16th century, and he wrote he translated Psalms of David, the King David, from the Bible, right? And he called it Psalterz, meaning the book of Psalms, Dawidov. In fact, this was an accent. Before we had a letter O, but it was O like in French, a little higher, O, a little higher, O. And that's what he put. Now you would read it like Dawidov. And it is confusing because it doesn't exist now. What is Psalterz Dawidov? Later, in later edition, people started writing Dawidov because rodzicielnik, when they took it out from the grammar, from the cases, it became some kind of strange adjective taken from some, it's called przydawka or some kind of adjective. Dawidowy, it meaning whose, but you don't say Dawida. He never called it Dawida, meaning of David. He called it whose Dawidov. David, apostrophe S, David's. And there's a difference, right? So it's just a different. Your Saxon genitive is genitive, rodzicielnik, right? And of David, from David, it's another case. It's another case. Okay, so this proves it, but there's more. In Polish, we've got names of cities, which tells a lot. Like, where came those names, like Kraków? You know what is Kraków? Kraków is the city built by Krak. Krak, rodzicielnik, the ending of, it made Krakow. And then O became pronounced higher, and it became Kraków, and then Kraków. But basically it's the city of Krak. It's rodzicielnik. So it says rodzicielnik existed. Now, why do I say it existed? It exists also because we've got other names of cities like Marysin. Now, Marysia, it was the queen in Poland. And she had a property such as Marysin. It was her. Marysin. Whose Marysias, meaning Marysin. But it exists in, first of all, it exists in Russian. Russian, put here, he has the name rodzicielnik. He has the wrong questions for it, just like in Polish. But in Russian, we still have some names like Antoni Pawłow, and it means is the son of Paweł. W rosyjskim więc in Russian there is a form that you use. It's like a second name or maybe a kind of last name or just a name, and you say Antoni Pawłow, and this is the form of rodzicielnik, of genitive. All right. So this case is necessary. Now, then you've got next cases. You've got dajnik, bielnik. Dajnik, which is dative, and bielnik, which is actually in Latin they say accusative, but it should be rather something that is taking, receiver, something like that, because it's nothing in common with accusative, with accusations. And the question here for dajnik is komu czemu. So I give to whom, to what, and bielnik, accusative, it would be like who I see, who do I see, or what do I see? That would be the question. So here would be whom I'm giving, whom, or to whom, to David, and here would be who do I see? David. In English, it's simple. In Polish, would be Dawidowi, Dawida. But about endings I will talk later in another video. Now next one, you've got narzędnik and miejscownik, which is instrumentalis and locativus. That's how you call it in Latin. And it's here the question is with what or with who, and here the question is about what, about who, and it goes together. It's a pair, and the last pair, this here I said odchodnik, it's taken from Sanskrit. In Sanskrit it exists, and this is really what in Polish it's now called dopełniacz or genitivus, because it's got questions like that, but the questions are not really in Polish it's a question for dopełniacz is kogo czego, meaning of what, of who, and here odchodnik, apadana from Sanskrit, it really is of what, of whom, or from what, from who I'm going, or I'm leaving who. It would be this sense, because this odchodnik, apadana, in Sanskrit, it's not, doesn't really say who it belongs to. It says like it's talking about somebody or something that is leaving something. All right, that's really the sense of it. And here it's wołajnik. It's meaning vocativus, something that is calling, caller. And there is no question, there is just exclamation, chodź, come. And why do, okay, and after that, why do I said it's a cycle? It's a cycle of 8, meaning an infinite cycle. Why? Because, let's say, a human cycle. You've got a child, it's born, or you are born, you've got a name, then you need to have rodzicielnik, meaning you need to be at the same time getting an individuality, but at the same time getting the last name, meaning to be attached to a family, to your root, to your big family. All right? And it's very important. When they took it out, they actually cut the identity of Slavs. That's what I'm saying. Rodzicielnik is very important. In Russian, they kept the name, but all the rest is wrong. The questions are wrong and the rest. And in Polish, there is a dialect kaszubski. They say it's a language, and they've got it. Rodzicielnik, the name, not dopełniacz. This is a pair. Name, last name. Identity. Then you've got dajnik, bielnik. It's exchange. It could be when in a cycle of a human, when somebody is getting married and there is an exchange, marriage. The next one, narzędnik, miejscownik. It's when you go away from your parents and build your own house, for example. You need some instruments, some tools, and you build a house in some place, locativus. And then you've got the last rite of passage, because that's what it is. 4 pairs, 4 rites of passage. And the last rite of passage, last pair, is when you leave. It's when children definitely leave, or the children of children leave again the house, and you say goodbye. You are leaving something, odchodnik, going out of something, and but then you come back for holidays to meet, and that cycle starts all over again. Or it's the rite of passage of dziady, meaning dziady and baby, meaning the Halloween, right? The one Saint Toussaint in French, or dziady, right? This is the rite of passage in November, October, November, when you cherish, respect your forefathers. And it's all about death. Odchodnik, it's also somebody who's dying, leaving, but then we call him in dziady and tell him, come back, we want to pray with you, we want to help you to go through in your journey to God. All right, so that's the cycle, universal cycle, and it cannot be 7 cases. It's impossible. Or it cannot be even like in Latin. In Latin, you've got 6 cases, but it's impossible, 6 cases. Also, in Latin, you've got locativus and instrumentalis put together. And you've got vocativus, but it's like that in Latin. I hope it's visible. Nominativus, genitivus, dativus, accusativus, ablativus, and ablativus is locativus and instrumentalis together, and vocativus. But in Sanskrit, you've got 8. This is Sanskrit. It's all in my grammar. I cannot show you everything now. That's about it. I think it was kind of complicated. It's difficult to explain even in Polish. But if you learn this old grammar, you will understand it. And if you know French or Latin, it can be less complicated. Anyway, that's all for me. And do subscribe and come back for other parts, other videos. And remember that the language manifests your world. Bye-bye.